Welcome to another episode of Unscripted with me, your host, Debbie. Today, I have a good friend with me, Miss Donna Rouse-Meier. She's a badass cyclist here in Miami, and she's a fitness trainer. I wanted her to come on, get down to what gives us purpose these days, what made Donna who she is today. A lot of things have happened for her in this past year. She's grown on social media. Her fitness business has changed a lot. Wouldn't you say that?
Yeah, in the past 5 years.
Yeah.
It's gotten I work less than I did 5 years ago, but I have all the same people that I had, but I lost a lot of people during COVID.
That happens.
And when I moved only a mile away, people had bought Pelotons, and so it's changed. But that's when I started pivoting with social media.
That changes. I think everybody now has to reinvent themselves. We have to find another way to, I guess, mesh with the new way society is moving around.
Well, it's hard. I'm a person who does not like change.
Either do I.
I do not do. It's funny because I thought I didn't like change. I was scared of change. And what you said in your last podcast is that you live in fear.
Yes.
Yeah. And I want to talk about that. But
let's do it.
I was scared of change. Like I resisted it. And then 5 years ago, like I said, we sold the house that we lived in and raised our kids in for 35 years. And we're renting a house now. And I thought it took me just a year to just get used to the idea that I wouldn't be living in that house anymore. But guess what? It was great.
Isn't it funny? We think that we can't do these hard things. We think we're going to die without it. And yeah, we do feel a sense of loss, of grief. We go through all those stages, but then we're like, holy shit, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, that's
pretty damn good.
It wasn't that bad. And it gave me permission to not be scared to try new things and just put yourself out there. And like you were talking about social media, it's been very hard for me to really just put myself out there and, videoing myself. I never thought in a million years I would do what I'm doing. And I did it a couple of times. Oh God, I look like shit. Why does anybody want to listen to an old lady?
Did you put something out there and then you deleted a couple of times?
Well, I didn't know that there might be filters you can use.
Oh yeah, there's everything now. Sky's the limit.
How to hold the phone far enough away so you don't look.
Selfie sticks.
Yeah. I've never used my selfie stick is like a little tripod. But I've never put my phone, I didn't use it.
But what about on the bike?
I just hold it in my hand.
Oh God, I'd fall off.
I get so much shit on Instagram. How can you ride your bike and photograph with one hand and ride with the other? Do you know you're giving, it's a really bad example of really bad bike behavior. I am going 9
You're no longer my role model.
I'm going 9 miles an hour. I'm on a back road, right?
Yeah.
I'm on a back road and I got skills. I've been on a bike for 25 years. I could do anything on that bike. That bike is part of my body. Yeah, I never, it was an experiment. And when my dog died, I used to talk to my dog and I didn't have anybody to talk to.
Well, that was a
and
therapist.
My kids are grown. So I started talking to my phone.
It evolves.
And then, one thing led to another and it's kind of taken on a life of its own. It's just, and you get positive reinforcement and people say really nice things and people actually it inspires them to exercise or buy a bike or get their ass out of bed when they don't wanna, so I get a lot of that. People go, thank you. I know what I got to do, or you inspired me, or you just entertain me. Cause
you do though.
Some of my videos are just dumb and
you got to have that lighthearted stuff.
It's just thoughts. I have a lot going on in my brain when I ride. I do. And I never am at a loss for content. And when I don't have content, it's the most amazing thing. I'll be riding home and something will fall in my lap. Something will happen. I'm always looking ways of telling stories. Always. That's what I do. And I always look at stuff, go, oh, I could talk about this, and I've only got a minute. My reels.
I know you do reels. It's not like you could do episodes.
I could. I'm not ready to do that yet. And honest to God,
you could just come here and do them.
I don't really know how to do that. I like my reels and my stories. I'm trying to parlay it into Facebook, which, I got to say, I don't really like Facebook. That's a whole nother show though. Sorry, Facebook. And I'm doing a subscription, a fitness subscription.
Yeah. That's another thing that's
another.
Grown.
So I have
been since this year, right? Because before we had Donna on, the other podcast that I hosted with my best friend Juliana, she took that over now completely. And that's called Zone to Speak. It's phenomenal. She's doing a great job. And we had Donna on as our very first guest.
Woo-hoo.
It was so much fun. And she talked about going down that route of where the clients were right now and slowing down with different stuff and people asking for advice. But you hadn't done anything with the subscription service yet as far as doing some training that way, because you can reach people at a global level.
You can reach people at a global level, if I could talk right.
Yeah.
But it's you can charge from like $1.99 to $4.99. And so I follow a lot of different women who do that. And some are like bodybuilders and some are just like regular ladies, which is really, that's what I train. I don't train athletes. I train regular women. Kind of like we're kind of regular women. And sometimes we're super women, but I do. So I thought I'm going to try a subscription, but let me tell you the problem is even if you get one subscriber, you still have to post exercise videos every week just for the subscriber because they're going to subscribe. And if you don't keep their attention, you're going to lose that one, but you want to keep building. So I post exercise videos, like I'll post one tomorrow or Friday. And then I put out a little teaser in my story and then a little thing where you can actually push it and subscribe. But, behind the scenes stuff in my gym, which I don't do a lot, recipes, healthy recipes, just basically fitness stuff. So, I'm trying that. And then I'm doing a lot of brand ambassador stuff and affiliate stuff.
Because that also, once you sell a certain amount,
it's happening.
Right. It works.
It's happening. And you remember that little, when I had the flat and you guys stopped and helped me change it?
Yes, that's right. Shout out Dersu.
Yeah, thank you. And the little Psych Plus thing, that little thing.
That thing is phenomenal, let me tell you.
So I contacted the company.
It's a game changer, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I was nervous at first that what if I'm out there and I don't know how to use it? So I played with it at home. And I had to get I didn't really want to put it in my back pocket because
it is big. I carry it in there.
It's small, but it's big.
Where do you keep it? Oh no, I don't want to know.
The baby just looked at me.
That's another episode.
I have, that little thing that you put the top on, that you put the
keg.
Is that what it's called?
Yes.
But I have an extension from a keg. It makes it a little bit taller, so I could put my tire and my, the stingy things. What do you call the stingy things?
This.
And then I put it on top and then close it. So it's a small keg, and then it has an extension.
Oh, that's
actually cool. My husband had the extension that he wasn't using. That sounds so good. So many innuendos here. So I borrowed his. Anyway, so it's long now, but it's grow up, girlfriend. So
the wine's kicking in.
I have had one sip. So anyway, it's there, and I put the top on, and boom.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I really believe in that. I really like that. And then I'm doing my sunglasses. That's just I have to review them, and they have a couple of drops every year, so they send me free glasses. The cycling kits that I'm working with now, I'm on like a trial brand ambassadorship, but I've already sold a couple. They're out of Canada, and it made me a little nervous when there was going to be tariffs on stuff coming out of Canada. I go, there goes that brand ambassadorship. Right. Nobody's going to pay 25% on top of whatever this stuff already costs. So anyway, we don't have to worry about the tariffs for now. So we'll see.
So I think to pivot back, one of the things that you talked about doing the videos, putting yourself out there, and that you're just kind of like a regular everyday type of person. I think you devalue yourself there because you come across so genuine. It's easy for people to relate to you. I can see why it's more of a natural fit and why everything's kind of blown up more too, is just you're approachable.
Well, thank you. I can't imagine any other. That's the thing is I could only be who I am.
Yeah.
And, and every once in a while I'll get somebody on Instagram say, you're just too freaking old, go play with your grandkids. I've got some really nasty comments. Well, then I think, you know what? Whether they like me or not, that's not the point. And if they don't like the way I look, then there's nothing I can do about it. This is the way I look.
Exactly.
This is it, baby. It ain't gonna get any better than this. As a matter of fact, it's going downhill now real fast.
It's not. She's one hot lady. She still looks pretty damn good.
Yeah, well, so I wake up every day and I have to not think about the number I'm going to be on my birthday. Because if I let that freak me out, because, I'll be on Medicare, people. But I still feel good. I'm definitely, age happens subtly.
It does.
But I'm starting to see it happen a little bit faster.
I feel like it comes on faster once you hit those 50s, 60s.
No, you wait. I felt, you just wait.
What was the number?
About 63, 62, 63, I started seeing like my skin rebelled on me. I mean, I've been in the sun all my life.
Yeah.
But it gets, I'm like my mom and my dad. My dad passed away about 6 years ago from Parkinson's, and we'll talk about all that. But he melted. His skin just, he melted really bad. And me and my twin sister are just like my dad. And his skin was real baggy. But he was in the sun all his life too. He grew up down in the Keys. So plus my mother, she's still with us, just bedridden, and that's a whole nother show. Her skin is just baggy as hell. I mean, so I think it's a collagen, I guess. Whatever. Yeah. But you know what? I work out with weights. I probably do too much cardio because I do cardio every day. But
maybe a little bit more weight.
I work out with my clients, but I work out with, I just did a spinning class. I just taught a spinning class, but we lift weights in the spinning class, not while we're on the bike.
So it's almost like a boot camp spinning.
We spin for 40 minutes. It's called Spin and Sculpt. And then one day it's shoulders, bis, and tris. And then sometimes we'll throw some legs in if we have time. And then we'll get on the floor and do some abs always, and then stretch. And then I do 2 a week. And then the next one's chest, back, and legs, even though spin bike, according to me, every time you're on the bike, it's leg day. But we do more isolated stuff. And then we do chest and back, and always something different. But it's an hour and you work out your whole body.
I keep hearing that beep. You heard that?
Yeah. What is that?
I think that's something on my computer. I can't figure it out. I've been trying to do it. So I'll have to try to edit that thing out. I don't know. I have my do not disturb on at all times. I don't like being bothered. Now I'm losing my train of thought.
Well, you're basically talking about how great I am. So thank you.
That we can keep going on.
No, it's funny because the whole Instagram thing, getting back to being genuine or whatever, I genuinely love to talk, just like you said in your podcast, the one you did by yourself.
I do.
I love to talk, but on the flip side, I love to talk to people and I love to get people's stories, which is why for me training, when I get a new client in my gym, I can't ask them enough questions. I probably ask them too much. They could tell me what they want. I don't care. They don't have to tell me anything, but don't expect to come in my gym and not say a word for an hour. And I had a client like that once. It was a male client, and I don't train men anymore, by the way. The first thing he did when he walked in my gym, he hired me, which is what they do. And he was overweight, and, he got on the treadmill. And while I was on the treadmill, I was, I'm a little uncomfortable with silence. So I was trying to talk to him and get to know him. And he's like, I really can't believe I had to hire you, a woman, to help me lose weight. And I'm like, listen, I'm not the bad guy. I'm here to help you. You hired me. You're the one who walked into my gym. And he goes, well, can I say the F word? I hate my fucking job. He worked at a nursing home, and he lasted maybe 2 more workouts. And one day it was like towards Christmas. And I said, so do you get like a Christmas break? Cause I had 3 small kids, younger kids at the time, and they all got Christmas breaks. And he goes, what do you think? I'm in school. I have a job. I don't get Christmas break. I went, okay. I said, listen, if you can't be nice, then you're going to have to go find another trainer. Cause I'm not going to, it was the worst hour, spending an hour with him. Anyway, he never showed up again. But a year later, I got a card in my mailbox. There was no stamp on it. So I think he actually drove by my gym on my property, my house, and it said, I just want to apologize for my behavior. I went to a gym and I finally lost the weight by myself. And I'm so sorry, basically, about the way I acted. Thank you for your help. A year later. I mean, I never heard from him again, never saw him again.
It's amazing what it takes, what you need to hear. That's another thing that keeps coming up, is that when we need to hear something, stop, listen, actually listen. Don't just react. Actually listen to what somebody's trying to tell you.
Well, this guy, I think he had a moment.
I'm glad he had that moment. I'm glad you were part of that moment for him.
You know what? When you hire a trainer, it's like a glove in a hand or a shoe on a foot, whatever you want to call it, kind of match up.
Yeah, but
that I've had to.
Moral of the story there was also he shed the weight. He let that load off too. And it's funny how as soon as he let that weight go,
he felt better about himself.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then he had the time to reflect back and say, why did I even do this? What gave me that motivation? It was that trainer that was honest with me.
His conscience was bugging him, saying, I was really an asshole to her.
Yeah.
And he was an asshole.
And that's good too, is when we can actually go back and apologize. that means a lot to people. A lot of people don't do that. They think, oh, it's been too long. This person doesn't care
You know
anymore.
what?
That never gets old.
That went a long way with me. But no, I never saw him again. Never heard. I gotta be honest, I don't even remember his name. But I remember after that, I thought, I'm not going to train men anymore. It's just this, and it wasn't really a male thing. It was his personality. But I thought, you know what? I'm going to stick with my kind. Because I know my kind.
Well, let me tell you, it's hard enough to motivate myself as a woman. So let me tell you, you have your work cut out for you.
Well,
we can be difficult.
But I don't understand because I know you not a lot, not well, but I know you enough to know you're pretty motivated.
You think so?
Well, I don't know.
Oh boy, here we go. It's my turn.
You seem, I mean, for me, motivation is not, it's not even an option. It's just my life.
I was just going to ask you that.
It's not even negotiable. I just do what I do.
How do you stay so consistent? I was wondering about that.
Because I'm a total creature of habit, number one.
So it's habitual.
For me, it's a total habit.
So what happens if you don't do it? I heard something that someone said, there's people that can work out like 3 days a week, but I almost prefer to work out every day of the week because when I think about it, even if I just work out a little bit that day, I'm the type of person that'll think, oh no, I have to start over again if I even give myself a break. It's funny.
You know, and I know rest days are important and I have a really hard time with that. Like when we just got back from a week-long vacation.
Yeah.
But I walked 25,000 steps every day. And then we went on this pretty gnarly hike. That was like 30,000 steps. I was sore when we came home, but I wasn't on a bike. And the only way I can get away from my bike is to go out of town. But no, I just wake up. The only time I stayed in bed, I think in the past 25 years, not taking a ride. I used to only ride on Sundays because I taught 4 or 5 spin classes, sometimes 6 a week. So I rode on Sundays only. But when I had COVID, I just remember getting up going, I can't. And I went back to bed. That's like the only time. But I ride Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday now. And sometimes I squeeze in one on Friday if I don't have to work. But I still teach 4 or 5 spin classes a week and weight train. But I don't put 100% into my spin classes anymore. To me, it's active recovery. I don't even get my heart rate to 120. Yeah. 120 beats per minute.
I think that's a good balance.
Yeah.
Too.
So for me, it's just getting the lactic acid out of my legs. Although I've been told, you know, because I put this stuff out there on Instagram and I get all kinds of feedback. And somebody commented that lactic acid is supposed to be really good for your brain. I don't know anything about that.
Really?
And I got to be careful with my brain.
Should we Google this?
I've got Parkinson's on one side and Alzheimer's on the other. And the neurologist basically looked at me when I took my mom.
It's one or the other.
He said, "You're screwed." And then he told me, he said, just keep exercising.
Take another sip of the wine now.
Keep exercising and stay hydrated. So I do. Right. I stay hydrated.
And they say if you do have that in your genetics with Alzheimer's and these predispositions for these degenerative diseases, if I can talk.
Say that fast 10 times.
I know, right?
No, really, do it.
No, it's really, that just made me think really quick about like honestly, yeah. And I just lost track of thought, which we can go off on that, which I have ADD and I don't like to use that as a crutch.
Well, I have it too.
It really fucks with me.
Well, I have to really, my husband will watch me.
It really fucks with me.
If you watch me clean the house, well, I don't do that so much anymore. I don't have a cleaning lady. I'm her. But I clean, like I'll go over here, then I'll go over here, then I'll go over here.
You finish a little bit over here.
I have to stay on task. That's why for me, writing is such a singular focus. And you can't not stay on task, you know? And there was a cyclist next to me and we were talking about cycling and I see him out there all the time. And it's like, we're always out here. And he goes, you write a lot. I said, so do you. I said, for me, writing, I have to do it. Number one, I love it. But remember an Etch-a-Sketch? Remember that toy, the Etch-a-Sketch, where you do the drawing and then you shake it
and it's
clear
again?
That's my ride from my brain.
It is. Oh my God, I love that.
That's what writing does from my brain. I'm sure I stole that from somewhere.
No, I've never heard that before, but
it clears my brain. Right. So if I don't ride, if I'm not spinning or riding, or I'll just go on a walk, or if I don't get my blood moving, I feel like things keep floating in there and adding up, and it's like a chatterbox, like an awful concert, and everybody's screaming in your ear, and you're like, "Shut the fuck up!" Oh, I don't know that I have that. If you're hearing voice, no, I don't have. It's not voices. It's my own voice saying, "Shut the fuck up." Well, but it's taken me years to push that voice away, or the voice that says, you suck, you're not good enough.
So now we're getting down to it. So you don't have the problem being motivated and pushing through it, but you still have that voice in your head no matter what you're doing.
I have a constant negative dialogue in there somewhere. I have positive too. But I got to tell you, the whole Instagram thing and getting the balls to actually put my face out there.
Yes.
I know that sounds, because me and my twin sister used to model. We modeled, we had our face, not a lot of places.
You're a beautiful lady. You should not be
but it's not about, that's what you see.
I know.
When
it's
I look
what's
in the mirror,
within is
that's
very
not
different.
what I see. And I see all the flaws, and I see, it's like that. I did a post with a Barbie doll, the cyclist Barbie doll. Did you see that?
I didn't.
Oh, well, there's a Barbie doll out there who's a professional cyclist. Her name's Patricia. And I don't know anybody.
We'll share that. We'll post that on here.
Yes. I don't know anybody who looks like this Barbie doll. And I mean, wait a minute. Wait, let me rephrase that. We do live in Miami, the land of the surgical procedure.
Yes.
So there's some things
there's lots of Barbie dolls
to look like the Barbie doll. And I've seen a couple at On Key Biscayne.
Yes.
But, I'll never look like that. But the cultural expectation for you to be young and pretty, especially here in Miami. And, a lot of my clients, they come in with new lips and they have Botox, and I've had a couple of facelifts and a lot of body surgeries and, injections. And it's like, and hair extensions. And I just can't, I can't buy into that. But I also got to remember that I am who I am without all that crap. And this is the way it's going to be. And I push the voices away going, don't put your face there.
No.
Yeah, it looks so good. Well, you know what? Maybe you don't look at me and just listen to what I have to say.
Yeah.
How about something like that? But
I think there's a lot more substance in what you have to say and in living your life.
Well, I'm not out there. Somebody accused me of thirst trapping.
Yeah, what is that about? They keep telling you this. These are the internet trolls, right?
They're the trolls that hide behind their keyboard. They're just cowards. But apparently thirst trapping is putting yourself out there looking for, adulation from men.
Right.
Listen.
She's not looking for that.
I'm not looking for that. I didn't get on Instagram to thirst trap. I got on Instagram to, number one, I'm a creative person. I used to design and manufacture children's clothes. That's what I did before I was a trainer. And that was really creative. And I kind of missed that creative process. Training to me, okay, it's creative. You make a training session and you lay it all out. Yeah. But no, this to me, I come up with content. I come up with ideas how to shoot it. I come up with ways to make reels. And to me, and I write stuff down and I think of things and I plan things.
It really is creating your own story.
Yeah. And it's become, I was somewhere the other day, somebody pulled up to me on the bike. I get this, hey, Miss Instagram.
I love it.
And then I've had another person come by, nobody I knew. He just rode by, he goes, I love your content. So I to me, it's very affirming. It's like, wow, it's just about enjoying. I'm not trying
I'm inspired by it. I've seen the evolution of it from when you first started, when you were just literally learning how to do a simple video and post it on Instagram.
And I wasn't talking.
Right. You weren't at all.
One day I decided, because I hate the sound of my voice.
No.
Stupid.
Oh my God, I absolutely love it. That's another thing is once you hear your voice, the personality, the whole package is there. And it's absolutely genuine. You're hilarious. You have a great tone. And somebody feels that energy come across.
Well,
whether you're visiting your mother, whether you're talking about white bibs and see-through bibs.
See-through bibs, butt crack.
Yeah.
Seeing my mother, I don't post a lot of her per se, because if my mother could see herself right now in the end stages of Alzheimer's, all curled up on a bed. I did post the other day because when I got there, it was lunchtime. So I fed her, which is I can't tell you what a strange feeling that is to feed your own mother, and I'm sad when I leave, but I've been doing this so long with her. I've been helping her out for almost 15 years. I mean, I have two other sisters, but it's been me. So I try and keep it very light. Very, very light. And, when I leave, like I said, I'm sad.
That's hard on you too. That's why
it's been hard. It's been really stressful. Not so much now because it took me 4 years to find a place that would take care of her that wasn't a dump. And she's on Medicare and Medicaid and a couple other government programs. She has long-term care through Medicaid, and she's in hospice.
Yeah.
And so in order for her to stay where she is now, which has turned out really good, she was at another assisted living facility 2 years before that. But I went to go visit my mom one day and there was a for sale sign in front of it. I'm like,
what?
What do you mean she has to be out in a week? And I mean, this is my mother. This is not like a dog in a cage. This is my mother. Luckily, I was in the system and I knew people because it took me years to jump through all these hoops, figure out how were we going to pay for everything she needed because I can't do it. So anyway, the hospice nurse from the old place told me about this place and it's turned out to be really good. So yeah, I mean, it's sad. And and I know this is sound horrible, but I wish that at some point she would just go to sleep and not wake up because the quality of her life is horrible. She doesn't know who I am.
Yeah.
Her legs are curled up basically
You're gonna
to her
make me
chest.
cry right now because
It's hard.
it translates no matter whether you're in that state of a degenerative disease like dementia and Alzheimer's, where you don't know what's happening to you, and this is not what you wanted.
Well, it's been about the past year that she's gotten. I mean, she's on a lot of medications. She has the agitation that Alzheimer's patients get, and you can't move her, you can't touch her. She gets very angry. But when they give her a bath, everything happens in her bed. They give her a bath. They have to medicate her. So if I get there after a bath, she can't even keep her eyes open. Yeah. So it's very sad.
But we're just talking about this, and that doesn't sound like, if you go from thinking about you, let's put ourselves in this perspective. If this happened to you,
and you know what?
And your life now, would you want this?
You don't know until you get there, and then you're not
going to know what's happening.
Right. My mother didn't have the wherewithal. Well, of course, number one, she didn't have any money. She didn't have the wherewithal to know that this is not the way she wants to die. She kept threatening me. She was going to drive off the Key Biscayne Bridge. And I said, well, number one, you can't. And number two, you know how to swim.
Was this before she was incoherent?
Well, she's been, you could tell something was happening in the past 12 years. Now that I look back, I see the signs so much clearer.
So of course.
You could tell. I mean, when I started helping her out, when I started digging into her life, she was $50,000 in debt. She was doing weird things because I didn't spend a lot of time with her. I was busy with my business. I was busy raising kids. I would see her on Saturday night. She would babysit for my kids. But, she's always been she's a quirky lady, but there were certain things that got a little quirkier. And I don't know if I didn't know you this time, but she used to walk up and down Sunset. She lived in the Grove. And she would walk up and down Sunset into South Miami, and I'd run into all my friends cyclists. I go, I saw your mom today. She had this wild blonde hair, and she would carry, but she started wandering. And then she started falling on Main Highway. She broke a couple bones. And I had on the back of her cell phone, I had my phone number, right? So people would call me, go, I have your mom here. And then I get paramedics call me. I have your mom. And then once she was coming to my house, this is when she still had a car. I took her car away. I sold it. She was coming to my house because she had a doctor's appointment. She'd been coming to my house for 30-something years. And I waited. I thought she's going to be late for a doctor's appointment. So I called her, and a man answered her phone. And I said, who's this? And they're like, who's this? I said, this is Lorraine's daughter. Who's this? He goes, this is the Florida Highway Patrol. And I went, oh, shit. What happened? So she was driving and she got lost. Yeah. Then she hit the back of another girl's car. Oh, no. So anyway, she spent a week in the hospital, and that was the last time she drove. So I took her car and I put it in my driveway. And, when she got home from the hospital after about a month, she goes, okay, I'm ready for my car back. I said, the police officer, I had to lie to her for like a year. I said, he took your driver's license. She goes, oh, well, let's just go to South Miami Police Station and get it. I said, no, it's up in Tallahassee. I said, but he said, I think they're going to keep it for a year. Anyway, long story short, she never drove again, which means I had to do her grocery shopping. I had to take her to doctor's appointments. Her love was her car. She loved driving. She was a realtor.
There's a freedom in that.
Well, it was all right. She didn't have a lot to do. Anyway, but that was the last time my mother ever drove. But it's hard watching somebody slowly go down. But I have a client who's the exact age as my mother. I started training her when she was 65 years old, my age, right?
Okay. And the dementia started and the Alzheimer's started setting in more?
Well, with her, it happened. I mean, I still go work her out. She used to come to me 3 days a week for years. And about 2 years ago, they moved to the Gables to a nice condo, and it had a gym in it. And they really didn't want her driving anymore because one day she was coming to my gym and she said, I passed your house 3 times. And I went, uh-oh. Uh-huh. See, then I knew what to look for.
Right.
Little things, but this one was like, oh boy. So I called her daughter up in Brooklyn and I said, this is what I'm seeing. So long story short, when they moved into the condo, I started going to her 3 days a week. And I started noticing just things that were very odd, just certain movements she was making. And she was starting to kind of shuffle a little bit. She was still able to get through a workout. And then about 3 months ago, she was getting off the treadmill, and usually I'd take her hands and help her, and she couldn't do it. She couldn't get off the treadmill. And so she had one foot down. She just sat down. And oh yes, you could sit down there. That's okay. But that's when I called her daughter again. I said, we're not doing this anymore. Yeah. So I started going, and then she fell like the next week in her bathroom and hit her head. Anyway, I started going upstairs to her condo. I go up there 3 days a week, and now she needs a walker, and now she sleeps all day. But what she has is Lewy body dementia, which is what Robin Williams had. Remember, and it's a really
it comes aggressive. On quick. It's very aggressive.
So in the past 3 or 4 months, every time I go to work her out, get her out of her chair, and we walk with the walker. She can't even lift a weight over her head anymore, do a bicep curl. So I gave her a can of peas, and I said, you can lift this. And
here we go.
And then we can eat it when we're done. So her workout lasts maybe 20, 30 minutes, and then she begs me. She just wants to go to sleep.
But look at you. I mean, not a lot of people might just check out at this moment and say,
you mean the trainer or the client? I've been with her 23 years. I can't quit on her. I would never quit on her.
That's what I'm saying.
And even her husband is
not everybody is like you, Donna.
Like she's been in my life for 23 years. And I said to her husband's a retired pediatric surgeon. He's a very smart man, and he's having a hard time walking, but he's still very sharp. And I said, I don't think I'm helping her anymore. He goes, perseverance. Mm-hmm. So every time I think I'm not helping her, he looks at me, he goes, perseverance.
It's true. All it takes, literally, even if they don't remember, somebody's there with them.
Well, I try and interact.
Somebody's helping them, and that means a lot.
Well, she has 4 nurses. She has 24-hour day nursing. I try and interact with her. It's very difficult. She's getting that faraway look in her eyes, but I try and make her laugh. And I talk about puppies. She loves dogs, and I made sure she watched the Puppy Bowl the other day. And she watches all the dog shows. So I try and interact with her or engage with her, but it's getting harder and harder.
Yeah, it's so hard to see this happen to people that we care about.
Well, it's funny because when I started my training business, and I have, like I said, most of the same clients I've had for over 20 years, it never occurred to me that my own clients would get old and die.
Isn't it funny? We don't put that in our head. We don't want to see that. We don't want to process.
Well, I just never thought, number one, they'd be around that long at my training with me. Number two, I mean, I've been through births. I've been through deaths in families. I've been through marriages. I've been through divorces. I've been through so much with all of my clients.
That's right, because you really get to know somebody, and you get
my one client has been my best friend for almost 25 years. I mean, she walked in to train with me the first day, and we've been best friends ever since. Something clicked, but it never crossed my mind that I had a client die of COVID, but she wasn't training with me anymore. I had 2 clients die of COVID, but they weren't training with me anymore. They're ex-clients. But this one, I can't quit on her now. Yeah. And I said, it's up to her family. If they want me to come and try and help her 3 days a week, even to walk as she walks around and lifts a can of peas, then that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
So until they tell me no, I'm going to be there.
That's where your consistency comes from. There's just perseverance within you that just doesn't give up.
Well, I'm not a quitter.
No. And so even with that voice in your head that can keep kind of pushing you down, saying, I don't like what I see. I don't like what I see. You won't quit.
But that's why getting older is, if I had what's going on in my head now, 20 years ago, I would have been a freaking force to be reckoned with. And as you get older, I listen to the voice, but I don't pay it any mind anymore. And if I let it get to me, I feel like a fool. So
that's where you're doing good, is not to let it get too far. Well, to take a moment to say, this is just a voice.
What's the worst that can happen if I put myself out there?
That's the best mantra, is what's the worst that can happen?
Well, if you have anxiety, that's what you're supposed to
tell yourself.
Play it out and say, what's the worst that can happen? Although some really bad shit can happen.
It can, but you're supposed to tell yourself that. It's to kind of do the opposite and take a step back. There was somebody right before we were recording today. I had to go to Publix. It's my eldest son's, my firstborn's 10th birthday today. Happy birthday, Liam.
Yay.
And I went to go pick up the cake. And while I'm leaving, I'm pulling out, and there's nobody in the parking lot. And the guy's just sitting there going super slow. And of course, I'm going, let's go. I wish I was on a fucking bike right now.
You know what that is? But that's the universe telling you to slow down.
Yes. And I was saying, okay, I get it. But at the same time, it's the universe telling you to slow down. But it's another thing for the person in the car to think back and say, Why am I stopping here and not thinking about somebody else
Because
behind
most
me?
people drive in Miami with their head up their ass. Have you
Right.
noticed?
But most of the time people think it's just them. That's where I'm trying to work around, is that we can feel so alone in our own head and hear that script. And until we tell ourselves, no, I'm not giving up, that's it, and snap yourself out of it somehow and say, I'm not the only person, there's somebody behind me. Just imagine when you're in that kind of mindset, put yourself there and say, where you're in this ruminating circle of like, I look like shit, I look like shit, I look like shit. There's somebody behind you and they're going to beep at you and say, fucking move, I don't give a shit. And think about that and say, yeah, it's not that important.
Everybody you run into has a story, and
Yeah.
everybody has their own struggles.
And it's not that simple.
And if you could walk a mile in their shoes, not you personally, but people in general would be more compassionate or empathetic, even though sometimes I get pissed at, especially drivers that try and hit me on my bike. That pisses me off because, I'm not just a bike. I'm a human being on a bike.
I feel the same way there too. I think it's just another perspective, but you're right about that. It's a message to slow down.
It is, but the person behind you, you don't know what they're going through, and what they're doing has nothing to do with you.
Nothing to do with you. Don't take it personally is one of the things that we do. And I fall prey to that a lot, is I'll take certain things personally and think, oh, they didn't like me. Why are we even thinking that?
Right. It has nothing to do with you.
Right. But why we're even thinking that is something within.
Well, it's also,
it's how we feel about ourselves.
Your insecurities as you were growing up.
Yes.
All that stuff. I mean, I was probably the most insecure child on the planet. I mean, here I have an identical twin sister, and she was way more dominant than me. I was like the very shy. I couldn't even walk down Dadeland Mall by myself. I was so shy, and I would hide behind her. And then, I mean, physically and literally, I would hide behind her. And
I can't see that either. To me, you're just so upfront.
Shy.
Oh, wow.
But then she moved away 30 years ago. She moved to California.
Maybe that was the best thing that happened, because it made you come out of your shell.
It probably, plus I became a mother.
And you became your own person. You were not just part of another person.
Her moving away was very difficult for me. No, I had my kids. She moved away when I had my third one. I had to grieve that too. Because, we were like this. We were in the womb together. I mean, we scratched each other's vaccines off. I don't know if you remember. Remember those vaccines you used to get on your arm? You might be too young. And they would make like a scab. I forgot the name of the vaccine. They used to give you, like, they would scratch your skin. I don't know if it was for tuberculosis. And then you would get a scab. So everybody that my age, they probably have a scar on their arm. But Debbie picked mine off and I picked hers off. And then when we went to the doctor when we were little, if she got a shot, I wanted a shot.
By the way, she's not talking about me, Debbie. Her twin sister's name is Debbie.
AKA Cheyenne.
Yeah.
She changed her name. She changed her name when she moved away because I think she wanted to be a person. Because me and Debbie were always the twins. And, she couldn't have a friend if it wasn't my friend. And my mom dressed us alike until 6th grade when we rebelled. We were tired of being the twins. We were Debbie and Donna. So when people have twins, when I had a client who had twins, I said, treat them as individuals. They're not a unit.
Yeah.
They're individuals. So
and
I
it's
think
important.
That's one of the reasons.
Stuck in that and feel lost.
Well, it was good that she moved away, but it was hard. It was lonely for her. I was busy with kids and, my family.
Yeah.
But I was lonely for her because she filled she's my twin. We're from the same egg.
She's another piece of you.
But we're from the same egg.
I know.
And people are like, that's so gross.
It feels like somebody's pulling.
It was hard.
Pulling a piece of you out.
That was hard. And that also, I had that same feeling when my daughter, my oldest child, she's going to be 39, when she went to college. I can't really talk about it.
Oh. I don't want to think about it yet. I can't even think about it. Please.
I drove away from the school crying. All three of them, I drove away from school. Olivia would get upset when I drove her. She's my first one. Then Nicholas is my middle one. He was my most independent. I dropped him off at kindergarten. He's going like, bye, Mom. He wasn't even like upset. And then my third one clung to me like a monkey.
Oh.
I know. And now he's so independent. It's not even funny. They've all grown to be very, very independent.
I feel like that's also a sign of who their mom is.
Well, it's funny because I had so much fun. Being pregnant was not my thing. Plus, I had postpartum depression. Really bad.
I wanted to talk about that. I know we're pivoting a lot here, but that's an important thing because we're both mothers and it changes your life so completely. It's one thing to get pregnant. Sometimes you feel like the happiest you've ever felt. or you have awful pregnancies and you can't really enjoy 1 minute of it, honestly. But once it all happens, I'm telling you, there's something that is ripped from you and everything changes instantly.
Mhm.
These hormones, everything's supposed to go back in place and you're supposed to just instantly
be blissful.
Right.
Well, it was not.
That was the
Especially after
same
the third one.
experience for me.
Yeah.
And
I was not. The third one, I gained 50 pounds. I was that's actually when I decided after he was born to change the way I was eating, change my workouts, change my life, because I knew there was an athlete inside here.
were you active before that?
Well, I was running in my 20s, and then at 26, I had my first. And I kind of, I went to aerobics class. I did all that. And then when I had another one when I was 28, I was still kind of running. And then I can't remember my last one I had at 35. So between my second and my third, I started running with Footworks. Training, and I did 5Ks, 10Ks, and then I trained for a half marathon, and I did it over in Naples, and it sucked. I thought, this is not fun. And because there was,
but I can tell you something. There's something that happens. It does kind of suck. Yeah, running can be until you feel that kind of what they say, the runner's high. And I felt it more before when I'm running on my own, and it's less times than more. But you do feel a sense of accomplishment when you finish, right?
Well, I feel a sense of accomplishment when I when I work out, there's obviously a beginning, there's a middle, there's an end.
Yeah.
Yes, accomplished.
Yes.
And I feel good.
Starting is an accomplishment in itself, because sometimes just getting yourself on that bike, clipped in, starting. For me, that's the hardest part. Once I get going, I'm locked in.
Yeah.
I'm pretty locked in.
Yeah.
It's getting me going. The ADD, sometimes I can go in so many different directions. No, I got to start this. No, I forgot to do that. And then before I know it, I'm like, oh my God,
where's the day?
Right.
No.
And why didn't you just get on and start?
That's why you got to fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
I mean, I never have that problem. Sometimes I don't like if it's kind of cold and drippy out, or it's really dark, or,
You're more seasonally affected that way.
I don't like cold weather.
Yeah.
I don't. I like this right now, what's going on out there.
Yeah.
I don't like cold weather, but I'll go.
Yeah.
And I always get home and I'm glad I went. I can't remember any time coming home from a bike ride. Well, because once I came home and my husband was, how was your ride? I went, it was 2 hours of suck.
Something else was going on that day.
But I still went.
Right.
And if I didn't, it would have probably been really bad. Everybody get out of my way.
Yeah, but let's pivot back to the
postpartum.
The postpartum that you said that in between that, you felt like you really needed to become active.
Well, I've always kind of suffered from a low-grade depression, even before my kids, when I was little, when my parents got divorced.
What did that look like for you? When did that start? And what did you feel?
I just could never find just like a general happy feeling, just okay with everything. There was always like a little dark cloud. That's how I would explain it. A dark cloud. And, then in my 20s, I medicated to get away from that dark cloud. That didn't help. Yeah. I did a lot. Plus, I was a bartender. A bartender in Miami in the late 70s, early 80s. Yeah. I don't know if you people are from Miami, but I don't want to tell you what was going on in Miami.
Lots of coke too.
If you watch Cocaine Cowboys, it's true. Miami was crazy. But then, even with my children, when I got pregnant, the depression was kind of always there. It was just always, I had to keep pushing it away. And with my first one, Olivia, the depression wasn't bad. Me and Olivia had so much fun.
Yeah, but those hormones kick in. I have to say, I felt better too, because I don't know if it was the pregnancy hormones, the extra hormones. It made me feel,
because you're a little bit older. I know for me, the older.
True, because I got pregnant with my first at 39.
Yeah. And I had my last one at 35.
Yeah.
And that's when it hit me hard. So that's also when I knew I needed, number one, I knew I wanted to get in shape. And number two, I knew I had to get moving, because that's the best thing for depression.
It really is. Any kind of movement, whether it's stretching, breathing. Yeah, people think, I need to do something so intense. No, I mean, it's good for you to get into more intensive exercise and regular exercise.
Yes.
Yeah. And for me, I too. Yeah. I grew up dancing. So
don't take me to a yoga class.
I need to almost be exhausted.
I need to go.
Right.
That's why I wanted to
start writing. It's got a hyper focus too.
Exactly. It's got to get my attention.
No distraction. Yeah.
Yoga, I'd sit around, I'd take a yoga class and I go, God, what do I have to get at the grocery store today?
Well, I have to do the yoga classes here at home, because otherwise I'm just looking at everybody else and going, look at how unflexible I am. See, when I'm doing it by myself, I can actually just kind of enjoy it here.
Yeah.
and relax and not think about anybody else. And I think that kind of works for me a little bit.
Well, and that's what you'll find. That's what I tell people. I said, I don't like this class. I don't like that class. You got to keep looking for what works for you.
I know. Keep trying.
It's not one size
different
fits all.
things.
Right.
I agree. Don't give up on something just because maybe that didn't work. Maybe you're not a group sport type of person. So you just have to keep trying, not giving up.
Well, I can't even imagine if I didn't find the bike. I mean, I've always ridden a bike. I mean, that was my mode of transportation as a kid. We all had bikes in the neighborhood. I can't even imagine where I'd be without riding. And I've been teaching spinning class for 24 years. It's not the same.
It's not.
I'm very, very aware, but I get a lot done in my head when I ride.
It's true, right? Isn't that funny? People say they can think about the most introspective stuff in their life.
I can solve the world's problem. Maybe I can't.
Yeah, but I feel like it's something that clears. There's a shift. While you're doing it, it clears the mind, and then you're free to think.
And then you come home and all your cells are comfortable. Your brain is calm.
It equalizes you. It slows things down a bit and then clears the way. It's like parting the Red Sea and saying, ooh, I can think again.
Well, I come home and sometimes when I'm done writing, I either have a workout or a spin class. But if I have a spin class, I just spin my legs out afterwards. But if I have a workout, which I had last Saturday, I have this new lady and I'll yawn the whole time and I keep apologizing to her. I said, I'm not tired. And it's not you. When I get done writing, I'm so relaxed.
Yeah.
And I don't feel guilty at all laying on my ass for a couple hours. I'll have my lunch, I'll lay down, I'll go sit by the pool, but I will be yawning because I'm so relaxed.
That's how you should feel.
And I do. And I'm not tired. It's not like I ride.
Yeah, but your body's actually relaxing.
Well, then I said,
your nervous system.
Then here's the voice. You're tired because you're old.
Oh no!
You're not recovered enough. You're too old for this. You might as well stop writing so much. You're wearing yourself out. That's why you're tired. You never give yourself. I got this.
Yeah. I hear that one too. For me, it's like you didn't do enough of this. You didn't do this. You didn't do that. Now you still have to do this. It's always what you don't do. It's not what my therapist tells me to focus on, which is what have you done? What have you accomplished? How far have you come? Why does that not come into our mind?
Because that's not how our brains work.
I know.
If you think about how far you've come.
Yes.
Yeah. And then you go, wow. And every once in a while you have to stop and get perspective. I mean,
we have to stop and slow down.
It's hard to see it when you're in it.
Completely.
Because it's like, what's the saying? You can't see the forest through the trees?
No, you can't.
It's hard to see it when you're in it.
It's completely that. And to pivot back to the postpartum, it's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
You can't see it because right now you're so overwhelmed and overstimulated by this new presence in your life.
And exhausted.
Completely over. And your body doesn't really understand because something just came out of you. You're not burning that anymore, which is these extra hormones that somebody was growing. Everything just leaves your body. So it's instantly detached like a loss. And then you're supposed to be blissful.
It's a loss and a gain.
Right. It's a loss and a gain, but it's everybody goes through it so different. And then there's such a huge shift in your life. And everybody can tell you what to expect, but you have no idea.
Well, that's why they say to put blinders on and what are those things called? Ear plugs?
Earplugs? Yeah.
Just don't listen to anybody.
I know. It's like what they say. Don't listen to all these advice that people give you.
Yeah.
And some people will really spew so much at you, they cannot help themselves.
Well, there's such thing as constructive criticism.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine, But when you're pregnant, I remember after my second one was born, the doctor came into the room and he was so flippant and he was such an asshole. He had no bedside manner. This is the man who delivered my baby, right? He goes, I just want to let you know that your son might have a heart problem. I'll come back tomorrow. I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean?
You don't tell me this. Drop this on me right after I dropped a kid out of my uterus and then say, bye, I'll come back tomorrow.
And I'm like, and you're so emotional, hormonal.
Yeah.
Came back the next day. Basically, Nick had one of his valves wasn't shutting completely. It was like, he had a little heart murmur, which is really normal.
Yeah, it is.
They closed the next day.
Right. And this happens a lot. That happened with I think both of my kids, and they went to see the cardiologist after, and both of them closed like that too. It happens a lot.
I wonder if it happens more with boys than girls, because it was my boy.
I'm not sure. It happened with both boys, more so with Liam. We had to take him to several appointments, but I think some of these doctors, they get in this mode of they're just delivering so many babies.
They should. Well, this was a guy at OBGYN. So they're working with women all day. They should realize you can't just do that. You can't drop a bomb like that. So I remember thinking, wow, what an asshole.
I agree.
I can't even remember which doctor it was.
We're going to have a little bit of respect for him there.
No. He's probably retired. Anyway, when you suffer from depression, I mean, there was a time.
Well, you have a predisposition, I think.
I
That's
do.
why. So
both me and my twin sister. And I took Prozac for a while and it gave me heartburn. And so I always tell people that my road bike is my Prozac.
It is.
And my spin bike is my Wellbutrin.
I love it.
But I don't feel the depression that dark cloud is lifted years ago. I just don't feel it anymore. It may be because,
I love hearing that.
Well, when I went into menopause, maybe I went into menopause
I
at
have
53.
to say I've been a little less depressed since I started going into menopause a little bit more. In the very beginning, I felt a little bit more because I didn't know there was such a shift in the hormones and I didn't know what was happening. Mm-hmm. But now I definitely wish I had this when I was young. I'm a lot more consistent now. It's crazy. And I think I'm not, but it's funny how that happens.
You just can't get out of your own way.
That's the problem. We have this belt and we're the ones who keep tightening it.
Right.
Rather than loosening it because we think we need to tighten it.
And your only limitations come from within. From you. Right. I mean, like I said, as you get older, something changes in your brain. For me, I mean, it's definitely not complicated anymore. Life is not a complicated thing anymore. It's not.
When you hear that, it makes it sound like it's a good thing.
It gets better. Your brain gets better. Okay, your body goes to hell in a handbasket.
Right,
but your brain gets better.
But there's a lot of different things that you can do now to at least kind of prolong that or take care of yourself the best that you can, which is obviously taking care of your health, your fitness. There's different nootropics on the market right now. There's all this. I know Juliana has one of those coffee. It's not coffee. It's actually like mushrooms or nootropics.
Yeah. And it's supposed to be really good.
Yeah. So there's all these different products on the market now that help you with neurological functions, especially as you age and just memory boosting, that kind of stuff. So, but it also helps with fitness too, blood flow, everything. But I mean, pivoting back, how many times have we pivoted back? We're obviously pivoters. We don't want to talk about postpartum.
We are pivoters. No, let's go. I mean, the best thing for it is exercise. I think I had a client and she used to tell her patients, I'm not going to put you on meds. I want you to start exercising. For me, I mean,
I think that's where people should start first. Why do they throw medicine at everybody? Look at the person, get to know the person first. Stop second guessing and thinking it's all in somebody's head. Maybe do a session with somebody first. I think we need to see what's going on with the person first because that explains a lot.
Unless they're ready to jump off the building.
Well, that's different.
That's not a funny thing to talk about.
It's not because, I can share plenty about that in another episode as far as how low depression can take you and how low certain diseases that pretty much infect your whole mind, body, soul.
It's funny you say that because I feel like my children saved my life.
Same.
Yeah, I do. Number one, I had
something to take care of.
And I wasn't one of those women, I can't wait to have kids and stuff. That was not me. And when I did, it wasn't really a plan. I mean, we were getting married and blah, blah, blah. So, shit happens. So here comes my daughter. And then 22 months later, here comes my son. And then another 6 8 years it took to make the third one. But suddenly there's something about it. It's so grounding. And you have this little thing that's just, and I couldn't wait to like fill them with the wisdom of the world. And you see everything through their eyes. And I just wanted to expose, especially the first two. We used to just jump in the car and go on field trips. And we go out of town and we went everywhere together. And then by the time the Zach came, I call him the third one. He's fantastic. They're all fantastic. I mean, Zach was the best one to end on. Had he been a twin, it would have been great because he was kind of like an only child.
It was like having one all over again. Yeah,
which
was kind of nice.
Which was fine. We spent a lot of time together. But I just wanted them to. I wanted to make their childhoods magical. And I don't know. I told my middle son this, my middle child this, and I think that he is like me. He has a real creative process and he daydreams and everything. He wanted everything to be magical. I mean, we always had so much fun. And, certainly, I'm not saying I was perfect. It wasn't perfect.
Please, I feel like you're reading the biography of me. I feel like this is why we've become friends, because that is exactly what I experienced and how I am is exactly how you
But
are.
also, it depends on your childhood. I had a pretty magical childhood, even though when my parents divorced, it was horrible. But one of the best things my dad ever did, when he left my mom, he married another woman who became my stepmother. She had a 2-year-old boy, son at the time, who is my stepbrother, and they had a child together. So I have a half sister, and they're in their 50s. But my stepmother was the mother that I probably needed, because my mother was not. She thought she was nurturing, but she was also. My mother was stunning. She would walk in the room. She looked like Diane Cannon. I don't know if you remember.
Yes,
Diane.
I do know who's
everybody thought
beautiful.
She was just stunning, and she knew it. I mean, she was a beauty queen in school, and she was a cheerleader, and she was the woman from the generation where a man was to take care of you. So when my dad left, she went out immediately and started dating. She was so hell bent on dating that sometimes. And this is what I thought about when you said you live in fear sometimes. There was this time in my life when I was a little girl, we would wake up in the morning and all the lights in the house would still be on, and her bed was made and the lights and
she wasn't there.
She never came home. And of course, when she came home, she go, "Oh yeah, I was home earlier." My mother used to sleep till noon. That freaked me out. And then of course, my father and my stepmother tried to get custody of us. It got very messy. My parents were in court for 11 years. But the fact that my dad married Sherry, and Sherry was, my stepmother she was super nurturing.
More grounded.
She was like June Cleaver. She'd wear an apron and she had cookies. And then, of course, years later, we all had to move in with my dad.
Okay.
And my mom. And that was hard because even though I have a twin sister, I was very close to my mother. And Kim and Debbie were pretty close as they got older. So it was hard, which is why I never would have not taken care of my mother.
I mean, see
she was
why
this far
you
away
want
from
that.
being homeless. I never would have she's a human being, number one. She deserves dignity, but I never would have not taken care of her. But the fear started in my childhood when I realized that my mother wasn't coming home. It scared me. And I remember, and plus I have my dad's parents. This is therapy, people. My dad's parents were,
it's good,
but they were alcoholics.
It's purging out.
And they had a farm a really nice 100-acre farm up in North Carolina. And that's another show. But they used to get really wasted at night and throw things at each other. And I remember, and it scared me. And I remember, my grandmother the property was so big, she had to drive around it in a golf cart. And in the morning, there'd be like branches all over it. But those things like that scare children. And it scared me to my core because I didn't understand it, with fear. Like you said, I grew up with fear.
Because you feel like something's going to happen at any moment. You don't know what's going to happen, actually.
There were some times that the unpredictability of things, I need security, predictability.
Mm-hmm.
Those are things I tried to give my kids. Like I said, I wasn't perfect. Life throws things your way, but I wanted them to feel secure. And, I think they did. And I remember my daughter, when she was 16, she said, "Mom, I'm good. I don't need therapy. I think my teenage angst is over." I went, "Oh, okay." I mean, so
that's some awareness right there.
Yeah, but I'm sure they have their things. But I just wanted them never to be scared. And even like my mom would like reach her hand up and scratch her head, and we'd all duck down because we thought she was going to hit us. My mom was a rager, so I know in my generation, children were to be seen and not heard. So
same.
Yeah, my mom was. And I think there was two other sisters
back in the day. You got your ass whooped.
Yeah,
the belt came off.
Oh yeah,
you got your mouth washed out with soap. I had that happen. My mom was a rager too. Out in person, everybody was, "Hi, she's this great person and so sweet." And when she'd come home, all hell broke loose. Everything was flying in the air and screaming. And
but you can't.
We were
no wonder
the worst things that have ever happened to her in her life. Mm-hmm. The things that come out of your mouth, and I get it. Now you forgive and you say, she was doing the best she could.
Is she still alive?
Yes.
Have you talked to her about it?
Yeah. And I mean, now I think she's just, a lot of times when you talk to her about that, she tunes out. Mm-hmm. And she either does one of two things. She'll either get extremely defiant over it and make excuses, or she'll just change the subject completely.
Interesting.
It's very interesting, actually.
My father, before he died like 6 years ago, maybe 10 years before he died, because he eventually divorced my stepmother. and it married a third.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
And this one seemed like she was great.
She was, but they, they had shit too.
Yeah,
You
see,
know,
you never know what happens.
but he apologized for some of the stuff he had done. I think it was really eating him up because, he was, my parents got married when they were 21. He just wanted to fish and hang with his buddies. And yeah, so, that didn't work out well, him and my mom is tough. She's a lot.
Yeah, the personality with my mom was so different. She didn't really grow up with a father. So every man that gave her this attention, she molded herself into what they needed. So there was a new identity every time. And we didn't know who she really was all the time. We saw different sides of her, but the only sides we really ever saw was this very angry, bitter, resentful person that just didn't seem happy.
Mm-hmm.
And that you almost felt like what I felt as a child was that fear because we would hear the kind of anger and explosion because when I was young, I was diagnosed so early with the ADD and hyperactivity that it was used against me a lot. It was a lot of negativity on me, and I labeled myself because of what I heard. I knew nothing of that, only what was told to me.
Well, that's what happens. You believe
what somebody tells you.
Yes, especially an adult.
Right. And somebody's so young, and I just didn't see that. And that stuff really messes with your head.
But it takes a long time to figure that out.
A long time.
I mean, everybody says, oh, yeah, when you hit your 40s.
Oh, no, I'm still that little kid in my head hiding behind the couch crying.
Oh, I'm not that little kid anymore, but let me tell you.
Well, you're not that kid anymore, but you don't live in that fear. Yeah, I choose not to. I choose to step over that. With the most recent therapy that I decided to do was because I have gone through so much therapy. And like we both mentioned right now is as soon as you had your kid, that saved your life.
Well, they were also, even though I did a little therapy, I haven't done a lot. For me, they were kind of my therapy. I got to kind of grow up with them.
Oh, and no one's going to force change on you like a child because you have no choice. You have to hold on tight because it's something different all the time. So that's going to make you step out of your shell. That's going to make you face your fears. You really are going to have to, and it's going to put you to that test.
Well, then you realize your fears are just really like an aberration in your brain. They're there. They're real. People have to validate them. But if you get through it, you go, it's like I said, like moving.
And it gets a little bit easier each time.
Yeah, you're like, oh, why was I so scared of that?
I know.
And me and my twin sister and my other sister's 14 months older. She was born in Fort Bragg at the Air Force Base or military base. And they used forceps to pull her out and they damaged her eye. So she had to have eye surgeries and she had buck teeth and she had to wear these really weird glasses. And my grandmother always cut her bangs too short. So she was 14, but she was extremely bright. Right. So as we grew up, Debbie and Donna, me and my twin sister we were like the happy little go lucky, cute little twins. We got all the attention. We basically took away Kim's sunshine when Kim was born. And then when we were born, all the attention went to Debbie and Donna. We did the twins fashion shows and, the twins parade and we were in, newspapers and then we started modeling and it was, my mother took the attention everywhere we went. And Kim was in the meantime, her head in the books. And studying and studying and studying. So she ended up, my grandparents really favored her. So they sent her to college. She's a biologist now.
Wow.
I mean, she's very bright. And Debbie and Donna, they kept saying, oh, you're cute, but, you should probably just be a flight attendant or a secretary. They didn't send us to college. And I did want to go, at one point, I wanted to go to the Art Institute in Denver. God knows why, because my dad took us out there to ski and I liked it.
Well, you're super creative too.
But he said, no. Back then, I didn't know you could get student loans. I didn't know that. So I did a little bit of college here and a little bit there. So I went to School of Hard Knocks. School of Hard Knocks, right? Yes. But my older sister was busy getting very cerebral. I mean, she was smart to begin with, but she's very bright.
Is that somebody that you still go to?
No. You know what? We don't have a really close relationship. No, not really, because 7 years ago, she basically just shut my mother off and me off pretty much. It's hard to take care of an adult when you have 3 kids. Yes. I needed financial support. I needed emotional support. And she just shut me down. We text sometimes, but if she needed, no.
I'm sorry, because that's extremely hard. And I'm not trying to give her any sympathy as well. But
she had a rough relationship with my mother.
Yeah, I understand it.
This is part of that.
And I know my mom listens to the podcast and I love her to death. But no matter how much you love somebody, there's only so much you can do if it's hurting you.
Right.
And I feel like you have to put yourself first in that way. And yeah, I'm not excusing your sister's behavior, but maybe she also knew I can't.
Well, she could have pushed my mom away, which she did. She just
But she could have helped with something financially.
But she was hurting me.
Yeah, and I don't feel like she needed to let you go.
No, it's a whole, how family dynamics.
I do know how family dynamics are, and we all have the relationship with my mother. It's to differing degrees, but we all have that same kind of connection, which is a bit of a disconnect, which is very sad. In my head, I can kind of overplay that like a fiddle too, and go in a ruminating circle of, but if this, what about this? But if I do,
well, let me give you some words of wisdom. Because I can.
But it doesn't change it ever.
It doesn't. But let me just, and I've said this to a couple people in the past couple months. You can complain, and you're not complaining, but like one of my clients, I got to go spend the weekend with my mother. And then I got another one that, you know what? You're going to look back and you don't realize how lucky you are right now. I can't live with my mother. I can't talk to my mother. I can't ask history anymore. I can't ask her questions anymore. I can't talk to her. And she used to call me. We'd stay on the phone for hours. And I used to hold the phone out. But now I think back, I think that it's never going to happen again. So, and it's hard because you don't see it now. And maybe
the relationship obviously is not going to be that style relationship.
How many siblings do you have?
I have 2 sisters.
And your sisters live here in Miami?
They do.
Okay, that's interesting. So when your mother gets to the stage where she might need...
Where she's getting close to that, honestly.
Yeah.
Well, we've already decided that we'll all 3 work together in that way because...
You've had the conversation.
We've had...
Which is really important.
We've had a conversation about that because we know physically and financially, I think we need to almost take over there.
Oh, yeah.
In certain aspects, because I think as you get older, and this happens with a lot of people, you may forget that you bought something, buy something else for no reason, just kind of forget about what is a necessity and what's not. And that's another thing. We have to be there for people. They do need us. And I mean, I think what we're getting back to is we spend a lot of time talking about aging, and I think that's important.
Well, number one, you've had the conversation. I never, if you could have told me 20 years ago, I never thought my mom would get old. My dad had a wife to take care of him.
I still don't like to think about that.
Does your mom have a partner?
No, her husband passed from cancer.
So my dad had a wife. Yeah. She took care of all that. My mom never remarried. And so by the time she got in her, she's 87 now. By the time she was in her 70s, she's like, all my friends are dead and nobody wants me, basically. She lost her beauty. Yeah. Even though you could see she's still, to her, that's very important. But I never thought that I would be the one. I just didn't know, number one, she was going to get Alzheimer's. Number two, it never crossed my mind how I was going to take care of her. And my kids have seen how this is all unfolded. And, they know that at a certain point, me and their father we're going to age. We are. I mean, it happens to everybody. And then they have to decide. I'm watching this with my client's family right now. They've circled the wagons. They all come in from out of town. None of them live here. And they all, of course, they have money. So money helps when you're sick, by the way.
It does. Let me tell you. I hate to say it. You can get a lot better care.
But they've circled the wagons and they have really stepped up and did everything they feel like they need to do because, I don't know how much longer she's going to live. She's coming to the end and they're trying to make it as comfortable and as dignified as possible.
And I believe we should do that. They actually need you more. It's just like a baby
Well, my mother is like a baby now.
Yeah.
We
go backwards.
Diapers and bibs.
Yeah, Benjamin Buttons.
Yeah, exactly. So if you think that she's not going to need you as she gets older, she's going to, in a different way though, because now you're going to kind of be like her mother. You're going to have to be nurturing and careful
and it's difficult to do that.
When you have resentment.
Right.
I have
100%. There we go.
Now I know that.
Yeah, that's the tough part.
Which is why I had to swallow my resentment and help her.
I have to swallow that. I just like to see the bright side of things. I do not like holding grudges. I physically feel it.
It causes disease.
It does.
Grudges.
And I don't like to hold on to that. I just don't choose to. Plus, I also like to believe in people.
Yeah.
And that they can learn and grow from something. And I like to do that.
I hear you.
It's just tough.
I know. And every family has it.
You want to let go of resentment so much, and it's very difficult. It's very difficult. But I mean, I definitely do feel like talking to you right now that you're putting a lot of perspective on it and you're making me see it in a different light. Yes, I'm going to do what I can. It may not be at your level. And that's not what we're trying to put out here as a message to other people, is that we have to give what we can give.
Well,
but
right.
Give.
And then at a certain point, you have to you don't want to stuff the resentment because it's just not good for you. But you also have to realize, at least in my mother's case, she's coming to the end of her life.
Yeah.
Somebody has to. There's nobody. It's just me. And she's laying in a bed all day with nobody.
And how are you going to feel too?
Well,
at the end?
I'm going to feel relieved that she's finally at peace. She's not in pain. She's clean. She's fed. And I'll miss her, but it's going to be hard. It'll be hard.
It is. Sometimes we think it would be, like you said, it would be a relief.
It will be. I mean, I only visit her once a week now because, like I said, she doesn't know who I am. And there's not much I can do for her anymore. I'll feed her when I go there. I give her chocolate. I try and talk to her, show her pictures.
I do like that you document that and share that with
my followers.
With your followers.
I've gotten a lot of feedback on that, and there's so many lonely caregivers out there. My youngest son had just gone to college when my mother started going off the deep end. And like, that's just how life is. I remember I had a client, and she was an art teacher at a public school, and she no children. She was married, but they never had kids, and she couldn't wait to retire after 30 something years. She was going to start traveling. Well, she retired. She got breast cancer in both breasts. I don't know. And she had to have double mastectomy. I don't know if she's alive today or not. But the moral to that story is, don't wait. Don't keep saying, no, I'll do that when I'll do that.
Yes.
Don't wait. Just do it.
Yeah. There's no perfect time.
No, for nothing.
No,
That's
there's
bad
not.
English, but for nothing.
We have to push ourselves into something, challenge ourselves with something, take that chance.
Well, that's why I did that Instagram thing. So what the hell? What do I have to lose?
No. And look at what's happened. We've become friends. You're on this podcast now. We're talking and we're telling people our lives. We're being so vulnerable.
But it's okay because hey, husband.
Hi, husband. My husband just walked in. Remember, the podcast studio is my living room.
but that's called human.
It is.
That's all it is. We're just human.
It's the human experience that we're all living.
Right. And everybody's living it. And like I said, every person you see, and even if they're assholes to you, you got to understand they're going through shit.
Right. This is their journey.
Right. And it's about them.
It is about them.
I mean, you can't sit there and help every person on the freaking planet.
We can't.
But you know that everybody has a story. And that's and I love stories. I love telling them, and I love hearing them.
We've told a lot of stories today. We've kind of gotten through a lot of stuff. I've really loved this, actually. I think we talked about exactly what we needed to.
Well, we covered fitness, we covered cycling, but this is not a cycling podcast. It's who we are, though.
It is, and I think
that's our connection.
And that's
Did you want to tell the people how we met?
Because I don't know if they're going to go back and listen to episode 1 on Don't to Speak, but we can definitely tell it.
Because I didn't remember until you told me, and I felt like a real
And everybody has
bitch.
a different version too. So your version's going to be completely different. Yeah, you're going to be like, who is this bitch? Get the fuck out of the road.
That's right.
Yeah, for me, I was just riding, and it was funny. I don't usually ride mornings like that because of the kids. And I was riding with my crew, Glenn, Anthony.
Mm-hmm.
And we were going into Virginia Key, and I think I'm not sure if I had a flat once or we had already put air in the tire once. And I was like, great, I hope this is going to hold. We turn into Virginia Key, and I look down and I feel it, when I'm behind them, and I go, oh, and they start slowing down. They're like, what's wrong? What's wrong? And I'm looking down, I go, I got a flat. And they're like, pull over. So I pull over to the side. I wasn't off into the grass, but I was pulling over into the side. But I guess you guys were just roaring past. And of course, if people don't know Virginia Key, as soon as you get in there, there's no cars. So you can kind of just take off. And you kind of blew past and said, get
I think I said, get the fuck off the road.
Yeah. At first you said something like, you're not supposed to sit there. And then the guy said, she's got a flat. And you said, I don't fucking care.
Get off the fucking road.
Yeah. And it was hilarious because I didn't say anything until I heard that. And then I go, you're a bitch.
The funny thing is I've only really ridden.
Did you even hear me?
No, I didn't hear you. No, I've ridden for the past 25 years with mostly male teams. And, they get very testosterone.
Oh, God. Sometimes they say stuff and I'm cringing like, oh, my God, don't say that. You're going to start a fight.
Oh, and then when I ride, not so much now because I ride solo a lot now. And after my accident 4 years ago, I had a lot of time to soul search and realize that I really trying to not getting dropped was causing me so much anxiety.
Yeah, I agree.
That I realized I wanted to, I don't mind jumping in, but I realized I wanted to do my own thing. But when I was writing, I don't remember this exact time. I don't know how many years ago it was because I think you're making it up.
No, it was literally,
How many years ago was this, you think?
Wait, how many years have we known each other now?
Probably 2.
Okay, then it was maybe 2 years ago. You were not with a big group. You were with maybe 4 or 5 other people.
Mm-hmm.
And I had seen you on the key before. And I always said, oh, that lady's really strong.
That lady looks like a skeleton.
No. Yeah, I wasn't one of those. I would say, wow, she looks super strong. And you can tell you know how to ride. You're positioned well on the bike. I'm a bike fitter too. But you can tell when somebody knows how to ride the bike. And I said, oh, she's very strong. And all the guys would always say too, yeah, she's really strong. We don't know who she is. We've never really talked to her. I think one time I did ride past you and I said something like, hi, good morning. And you didn't say anything. You just kept going.
I really, as you know now, I'm really nice.
You are. That's the funny
I'm really nice. And I'm not patting myself on the back. When I ride, I say every time I pass a person, good morning, good morning.
Yes.
I don't understand people who don't say hi. I'm nice and I mean, I like people and stuff, but it makes me feel good.
I agree. It gives back.
But every once in a while, if somebody does something stupid on their own, like, fuck you.
Yeah, me too. I lose my shit.
I try not to, not with cyclists, but every once in a while they do something so stupid. And if I did what they just did,
it's mindless.
Well, it's not only annoying,
it's completely dangerous. There's tons of cyclists out there that just are very reckless. They don't think about someone else. And it's not okay. Because they're obviously not thinking about themselves too much.
Because if you did that to them, they would be pissed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Yeah. They'd throw you on the floor. But yeah, I mean, it was funny when you passed and then we kept going. I never saw you after that because I had to be taken home by somebody because the flat was irreparable. Yeah. But I think it was maybe a couple weeks later, we were in Virginia Key. I'm in the bathroom and I remembered the voice and I heard you by the water fountains. I said, God, I think that sounds like the God lady. And I'm like, should I walk out? Because I
had no clue.
It was so funny. I was scared that you would know who I was and was like, you cursed me out, bitch. or remember who I was or something. And I was just like, oh God. So when I came out, you totally didn't know who I was or anything. So I was like, okay, this is great. And you were just so nice that after a while, the guys would be like, have you ever told Donna how you guys finally met? And I go, the funniest thing is it never crosses my mind because that's just not who I associate with who I know.
Right.
So I just never thought to tell you. And then finally, I guess I finally
you
told
did tell
you.
me,
and
I
was
was
just like, what?
So embarrassed.
I did it. She kept apologizing profusely. Yeah. This is how nice of a person Donna is. And yeah, it's not personal. So
it was, and here it is again. It was more about me than it was about you.
Yeah.
I was in my testosterone hot badass mode.
Yeah. But it's funny when you're in a loop or you're in momentum, it doesn't feel good to just be stopped. You're feeling really good.
No, but also all your, you get revved up.
I agree.
I get revved up. Not, like I said, not as much anymore. I'm in a different place now. But there was times when I was nasty. Well, there was not a lot of women I could find to ride with because they were so
There wasn't as many women riding back then too, but
there's very few women I enjoy riding. I enjoy riding with you. And like I said, maybe it's me. Maybe they think I'm not nice, so they're not nice, but I'm nice now.
You are.
I'm nice now.
What I've noticed sometimes more about the women is if there's not sort of an introduction, whereas before there wasn't as many women, so we kind of sought each other out or we'd look to say hi or meet each other somehow or connect in some way. now there's just a lot of women, and
There's so many.
there's
There
so
was
many.
not that many women out there when I started riding. There
No.
wasn't even female cycling clothes. I had to wear junior size 16.
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
We talked about that. I
Yes.
used to buy men's bibs. There's still a lot of companies that will design, they'll have a more extensive lineup, but it's for men.
All men.
And then the women's
Like,
line is just
hello?
like this little afterthought.
Like a little pink thing. I don't want to look like a powder
No,
puff.
we actually like these deep jewel tones. We like these different neutrals. Why don't we like that more than the men do?
Well,
Like,
that's one of the reasons, and I'm not going to blow my horn about the company that I'm branding now, the cycling. It's designed by women for women. No,
Yeah.
these are good. I
Yeah.
mean, over the 25 years, I've worn a lot of stuff. And, most of it, I can sit on a brick.
I have so many problems with saddles. I don't even
have
want to
no
get
problem.
started.
I get a lot of those
cycling.
questions from women on Instagram.
I actually had a woman come up to me the other day at work and tell me, I need to tell you something. Can I please talk to you? And I said, yeah, come over here. And she was like whispering, and I go, just come over here. And she's telling me of her saddle issues and rubbing and where it was
Saddle
hitting
sores.
her.
Mhm.
And I just said, I get it. And even guys are afraid to tell you that I'm having problems in my soft tissue area.
If you think about how you're sitting and you're bent over, also the time, you got to put the time in on the saddle. If I take 2 weeks off,
No, you feel it all over
a
again.
little bit, but that's never been an issue.
Just getting back to like kind of rounding this out and saying that I really appreciate you coming on here and being so open and honest and willing to talk.
But
We
it
didn't
goes
really have a
both ways.
plan.
No.
We didn't have a plan. And I was wondering, what are we going to talk about? I know we have endless things to talk about, but are people going to want to listen? That voice was in my head too. And
Well,
I know
here
I
am.
interrupt a lot,
What do you got to lose?
right? People are going to be listening to me interrupt a lot. Sorry about
That's
that.
okay.
This
I
is a
interrupt
real
too.
conversation. This is unscripted.
Yeah.
I'll edit some of it out, but at the same time, this is how people talk.
Well, it's funny because my husband will say to me, because, I've been training for 25 years and I can sit, especially when our gym was on our property, but not in the house per se. There was a door, a separate building. And I'd be out there 5, 6, 7 hours sometimes. And I'd walk in, he goes, hi, and sit there. What do you have to talk about? How can you sit there and talk to people for 6, 7 hours? It's just that you're either a people person or you're not.
I agree.
And we're people.
We are.
Right. That's why this works.
And everybody has a different energy and a different story. So it doesn't feel the same at all.
And you might get an interview, just like I may get a client that's much harder to
connect with. Yes.
And you got to drag every freaking piece of information out and try and make a conversation. And then you ask them questions and you get one word answers. And it's like,
yes. And then you feel like you find some sort of a connection, and then it's
well, that's like my best friend Karen.
Again.
My best friend Karen, the day I started working out 25 years ago, like I told you, we instantly clicked. And if you want to meet somebody who talks more than me, we got on an airplane in Miami because we used to travel together. My sister lived in San Diego. Karen and I, and Karen's going to listen to this. Karen and I left.
Hi, Karen.
Took off from Miami, landed in San Diego, and I'm pretty sure she never took a breath.
Really?
Oh. And she made friends with everybody in first class. I mean,
that's my stepmom.
Yeah,
she's an amazing.
She makes best friends with everybody.
Yes, she makes best friends with everybody. She's a pleasure to be around. She's a fabulous energy, love her to death. Yeah, she's a good talker. She's a people person.
Yeah, so there's people, and kind of people, and then there's people forget about it.
No, but you know what I noticed, and we can end it with that, is I think just even people like us, we need that time to unplug and just refocus, slow down. And I think that's what the cycling does for us too. It really gives us that moment.
But once I go home, I probably won't talk for 5 hours.
Me either. I'm kind of that.
I need my downtime.
Yes, I need my downtime too. I feel like that's a common thread there, is that we can be this.
Because then you can go back up here.
Yeah, we have to.
And rearrange everything.
I know, it's funny. I'll be like, let's do this, let's do that. Let me get together. And then when it comes down to it, I'm like, oh, I just want to relax now. Yeah. I can't.
Yeah.
I'm full.
This, even though we're people, this takes a lot of energy.
It does.
It really does. I know that sounds weird, but it takes energy.
Yeah.
Because I don't have to. I'm only doing this because I want to.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot out of you sometimes.
It takes a lot out of you.
Yeah. And that's okay. But then, like I said, I'll leave here and I'll go do what I need to do. I'll go home and I'll chill for a couple hours. And then I'll get on the treadmill.
For me, my kids are coming home.
Oh, yeah. See,
that's the constant treadmill. And you know what that was like.
Oh, I miss my kids. I wish they all still lived. I mean, one's in Brooklyn, one's in LA, well, south of LA, and one lives in Miami. But he's, he works a lot. All these kids work a lot. But I wish they lived closer. I mean, when they all come at one time, I love watching them together and interact together, even when they come one-on-one. But after about a week, it is
enough. Okay.
It's enough. But I wish they lived closer just so they could come over for dinner.
Yeah, that's the difference. Yeah. You get a lot of something and then you're like, okay, I've had enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a little bit easier in those smaller doses like that also. Yeah, I agree. I'm the same. But I wanted to say thank you again for doing this. This has been so much fun. We could just talk all day, right?
And ladies and gentlemen, we have a bottle of wine here, but we didn't drink it.
I had a glass and I was ready to go get up and get the rest. I didn't
finish my glass, and it was that was a small pour, lady. If I was in a restaurant, I'd ask for my money back.
Well, we gotta redo this in the evening.
God,
I had actually a really fun idea about doing
a happy hour.
Yeah, like an episode with a happy hour.
I don't know if that's not a good idea.
No, but actually, we would talk about and listeners, tell us if you think this is a good idea. But remember, I grew up in the 80s and everything. So a lot of that music, it just shapes my life and it takes me back instantly. And I would just love to have kind of a little happy hour like that, a girls chat and just get together.
I'd have to Uber home.
Yeah. Or no, we're just going to have a sleepover. Everybody's going to put it down. That would be so much fun, a pajama party. And we're all just sitting there sharing like we did at those sleepovers when we grew up.
Does that mean I have to put your bra in the freezer and your hand in hot water so you pee?
Let's see. Yeah, right? Oh, God, I don't even want to tell you. We'll get into that then. Yeah, the games that we all play.
That's another show.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, this was more about just music and things that we remember growing up. What were those songs that we remember, that those moments in our life, like that first kiss, that
when
prom,
you hear certain,
like those integral moments that we remember, and what songs bring that back for us and what comes into mind, and just kind of stick with a genre because otherwise we'll go off the rails.
Well, I have music stories for you all day long, man.
Well, I think that would be a fun idea.
Yeah.
Because everybody has a story to share about something. And I think each one of us would come with a song in mind. And then we can go off.
From the 80s? Would it have to be from the 80s?
No, it doesn't have to be the 80s, but I think it would be nice to have some sort of a time frame. So we're going to deal with our teens that night, or we're going to deal with our 20s
Well, I
wasn't
in my teens in the 80s, girlfriend.
That's right. Yeah, but I want to know what it was like for you. But I think that would be a fun episode. You don't think?
That could go off the rails.
It could.
Yeah, and then everybody's going to wake up the next day and go, no, don't publish that, or whatever you call it. Don't do that. Don't do that. You could do that, but I'll have to kill you.
See, this is why you need friends that are going to tell you what's a good idea and what might not be a good idea.
You could do it. Just have a party.
And don't record it.
Don't record it. Just have a party. You never recorded your
party. I don't know that
you?
I want evidence of that either. You're right. Okay, I'll edit this part out. Well, thank you again for stopping by.
And thank you.
This was a lot of fun.
Even though we haven't ridden together in about a year.
I know.
That one time. No, when I had a flat. Did we ride together?
For a little bit,
I left the key, whatever.
We did for a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, we did. But I think that's been the last time.
And it's not that I don't like to ride with you, but I really don't like to ride and talk anymore. I told you that. I don't like to ride and talk with anybody. I'd rather, if we're going to talk, ride. Because I can't breathe.
I like this. This was fine. I kind of I like that too, because I want to get my workout on when I'm there and
I'm
just
much more
unplug.
Focused. Yeah.
And then talk.
Yeah.
More attention too.
Okay. So just, put that bee in your bonnet, as my mother used to say.
Right. So if I don't say hi to you on the road, it's not personal.
You have to say hi, but it doesn't mean I want to have a full-fledged conversation.
Yeah. What she said.
And it's not about
what
you.
She said.
It's not about you. It's about me. All right. We can end on that.
All right. All right, listeners. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Unscripted with Debbie. It was truly unscripted, kind of going off the rails and having a real ass conversation about real life. Thank you for listening.
Right.
And with that, we're tuning out.
Ciao.
Ciao.